you back to our program. Well, going on elections all over the place, and you've probably been looking at your ballot saying, wow, lots of things to think about, 11 propositions, and lots of candidates from president on down. And as one wise person once said, all politics is local, and it gets about as local as it can be when you have the school board election. Joining us today, one of those candidates running for re-election, Suzie Swartz is with us today, a longtime member of the school board, served as president time or two, and has been very active, involved in the schools for years. Welcome back.
Thank you very much, Rob. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, a lot of times people say you should practice what you preach, and your kids are products of this local school district. In fact, they're in, I think one's through college and one's moving on his way through, and they're products of the local schools.
Absolutely. You know, that's one of the reasons I decided to run again. It is so important, that continuous thread from the time they start in kindergarten all the way up through high school. And I want the kids today to have the same quality of education, despite the fiscal troubles we have, the same quality that my children have. Our community, our kids, we deserve quality neighborhood schools.
And you know, some might say, well, you know, we're all 55 here in this community, and people might say, you know, I don't have, you know, my kids are living far away, and my grandkids don't go to the local schools. But you know what? These are the people that are going to take care of all of us when we get up in years. And so really it's an investment in our future.
Absolutely. We're preparing the citizens for tomorrow, the leaders for tomorrow. I know some people think that may sound trite, but it really truly isn't. And we want competent, caring, critical thinkers, the innovators of tomorrow. We want our country to continue to be the leader that it is. And it's so important, at the core and the base of it is a well-educated population. And that's what we're doing here. We're working to raise kids and educate kids for success in the future and to be our leaders.
I think a lot of us that grew up in the 50s and 60s remember the challenge of Sputnik and President Kennedy and others saying, you know, America needs to step up to the bar. You're a big advocate of something called STEM. Tell us about that and why you feel that's important.
STEM is very important. It's science, technology, engineering, and math. And I would also throw A in there for the arts. And what it is about, it's about the skills that are needed for the 21st century. Things are very different today than they were even 10 years ago. We know with technology, just look at the iPad and the iPhone and how much it's changed everything. We need to be sure from the very, very beginning that the kids aren't just learning to add and subtract and to spell and to write and to communicate, but that they understand how it all comes together, so they're prepared for the jobs that are happening now and will continue to happen in the future with technology.
And really every job today is so technical. I know from time to time we have folks on some of the local car dealerships. They don't refer to the people that fix your car as mechanics. They're technicians. And there's so much electronics just under the hood of your passenger car, much less in an airplane or a space shuttle or anything like that. So there's so much out there. And when you see the second graders and the fourth graders sitting on the laptop computer or with the iPad, working away, doing all kinds of technical things that, you know, you and I never thought. We were still doing typewriters and books back in the day.
Oh yeah, what they're doing in classrooms today, we just completed the largest modernization in our district's history, upgrading all our classrooms with technology. You can go into a first grade classroom now, like over at Olivewood Elementary in Lake Forest, where they have what's called 9Engage program, where the kids are using iPod touches, and they will all be working on an assignment, say a project. Let's say they're working on how plants grow, and the importance of sunlight and water to helping plants grow, and how many plants are planted. And they end up doing their research on this little iPod, and they can input it, and it can be sent directly to what's called a smart board that's replaced the typical bulletin board and blackboard in the classroom, where everyone in the class can be looking at exactly the same thing at the same time, and the teacher can say to one student, okay, John, you tell me if we plant this many plants, how long will it take for them to grow, how many days and how much water, and this student then can take the information and he can input it into his iPod and it'll show up on the screen for everyone to see, and they can discuss it from there.
And of course, to be able to have that, to be able to do that, you need several things. You need the infrastructure of the buildings themselves.
Yes.
They have to be well maintained. You have to have custodial staff. You have to have utilities. You have to have front office staff. Then you have to have the education component. You have to have the teachers. And I know you're a big advocate for retaining the good teachers.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of controversy today about unions and all of that, but your goal is to really keep the good ones.
We want to keep the good teachers, you know, and these days it's can't always say it with money. In fact, our teachers over the last 3 years gave up quite a bit in salary to help us deal with the financial crisis. And what we have to do is constantly provide that support to them. And we do that in a variety of different ways, not only demonstrating from the top our appreciation of what goes on in the classroom every day and showing respect for what goes on in the classroom every day, but making sure our teachers have the support that they need to do the best job that they can in the classroom. We've instituted some initiatives. One is professional learning communities that is allowing our teachers the time to get together in elementary by grade level, in intermediate and high school by subject matter, the English department, the history department, and giving them the time to sit down together and to collaborate on what they're doing in the classroom, kind of fine-tuning their lesson plans together, and then going ahead and implementing things in the classroom. But what it takes these days is continuing to make sure that we're all on the same page, but that we've created a culture where everyone in the district, from the custodian to the classroom teacher to the principal to the person in the front office, that everyone knows how much we value and appreciate what we're doing. And it really is the responsibility of the board to get out there and make sure that they feel supported.
And I think that's a significant statement, because so many times people think, well, all the school board does is sit in a room and pass on policy and say, yes, we approve this, no, we don't approve that. And really the involvement at the level, and I know you got started as a mom,
yes,
PTA and school site and all of that, so that's kind of what we still need, is a lot of parents to stay involved. And hey,
absolutely,
grandparents as well. I know we have a lot of folks in this community who are going and reading to a 3rd grade class, or helping a 5th grade class with math. So this community is involved.
Well, and it is, and we really appreciate the involvement that we get from everyone living in Laguna Woods, not only in the support they show us at the polls and supporting our schools, but also the support they show at our schools in terms of coming in and reading and helping and working with students and working with teachers. I mean, it's very, very difficult because unfortunately one of the things we've had to do over the last few years is raise our class sizes. And that's difficult. Yeah. It's more kids, more time away from the teacher, and having that extra support in the classroom, it makes a huge difference towards the success of students.
As we talked before the show, we have a lot of retired teachers here in this community, and I imagine a lot of them would probably cringe at the thought of having 35 first or second graders. Now, you try not to have those numbers, but sometimes that happens.
It does, and it's very, very hard. I mean, we're up to 29 in grades 1 through 3.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. And without that parent support in the classroom, or support from retirees who are willing to come and spend an hour in the classroom, just being able to allow a student, my mother does this in San Diego, she goes in and all she does is she sits in a comfortable chair and she loves it. The students read to her, because having the kids be able to read to a kind, caring adult helps a lot of the little ones get over that fear that is their stumbling block in reading. And it also then frees up the teacher to spend more time with kids on an individual basis, because we're dealing with real people, we're dealing with children. We're not dealing with widgets where you can do everything the same.
Right.
It's a people business we're in.
One size does not fit all when it comes to education, that's for sure. Well, we commend you for being willing to serve, and
Thank
again,
you.
your name will be on the ballot along with a few other folks.
Yes, it will.
In addition to working at the local level, you're also an advocate statewide and nationally as well, and you get involved in some of those conferences and working at the state level as well.
And I'm also active on the Education Coalition and on the State Delegate Assembly Fourth California School Boards Association.
I know we've had some irregularities here in South Orange County. For some years, people considered us still farmland and rural and still thought we were the O'Neill Ranch or something down here. So we had those issues, as well as the fact that we do have some level of affluence, so some people think, well, the parents can fill in the gap, and that may not always be the case as well.
No, it's very difficult, and it's really one of the misconceptions, because for all the wonderful affluence we have here in South County, our school district, like Irvine and Capistrano Unified, we're considered low wealth districts, because as you said, the formula for funding is based on the days when we were more rural.
Right.
And we get less than a lot of other school districts. And a lot of our families are in financial distress. Yeah. And for me personally, I think it's so important that as someone who believes in a strong public education and the importance of quality neighborhood schools, we got to put our money where our mouth is on it. I firmly believe that.
We're out of time. We do thank you for coming by and sharing with us today. Again, we thank you for your service on the school board, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, Rob, thank you
Good to have
so
you on the show
very
today.
much. Thank
We'll
you.
continue on with more local news here on Channel 6 for you right after this brief timeout.